There exists a silence that conveys more than words ever could, a solitude that does not alienate, but instead awakens the spirit. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychological thinkers of the 20th century, welcomed solitude rather than shying away from it. But what was his reasoning? Why did he, a man deeply engaged in exploring the human mind, find solace in being alone instead of in the company of others? The answer reveals a truth that many are reluctant to face. Solitude is not a void. It is a process of transformation. Jung posited that genuine self-discovery occurs not amidst the clamor of the outside world, but in the quiet dialogues we have with ourselves. He regarded solitude not as a state of loneliness, but as an entryway to the unconscious, a sacred realm where the facades we maintain fade away, allowing us to confront our true selves. It is in moments of aloneness that we begin to hear the subtle calls of our soul, free from societal pressures and external distractions. Yet, in a society that celebrates perpetual connectivity, embracing stillness can feel foreign, even daunting. Consider this: when was the last time you experienced complete silence without any distractions, without reaching for your phone or seeking approval from others? Many people shy away from solitude because it forces them to confront truths they are unprepared to acknowledge. In those solitary moments, suppressed thoughts, unresolved feelings, and forgotten aspirations begin to emerge. This is exactly why Jung viewed solitude as vital, not as a means of escape, but as an inward journey, a deep exploration of the self. Solitude encompasses more than just reflection. It also serves as a powerful source of creativity. Jung himself retreated to his lakeside sanctuary, Bingen Tower, where he engaged in profound introspection, writing, sculpting, and delving into his unconscious mind. He recognized something that many overlook: solitude is not an emptiness. It is a rich soil for self-discovery. However, in a culture that equates being alone with loneliness, how can we learn to appreciate the strength of solitude instead of fearing it? Many people dread silence. When external sounds diminish, an internal tempest arises, a surge of thoughts, feelings, and unresolved issues that demand our attention. This is why solitude is frequently confused with loneliness. It compels us to face what we often try to escape. Carl Jung acknowledged this fear, but rather than shying away from it, he embraced it. He regarded solitude as a crucial confrontation, a mirror reflecting the aspects of ourselves we prefer to ignore. In our hyper-connected society, we are conditioned to fill every moment with distractions: social media, endless entertainment, and constant chatter, everything designed to keep us engaged with the outside world. Yet, Jung believed that genuine self-understanding does not stem from external approval. It arises from within. He cautioned that without periods of profound solitude, we risk losing our sense of self to the expectations of others, confusing a collective identity with our personal truth. Jung's own experiences illustrated this idea. Although he was a well-known public figure, he frequently retreated from society to reflect on his thoughts. He constructed Bingen Tower, his lakeside sanctuary, as a place devoid of societal pressures, allowing him to engage in deep reflection and creative exploration. He regarded solitude as a sacred condition, where the unconscious mind communicates most clearly. However, the question persists: if solitude is so vital, why do many people fear it? The answer is rooted in the complexities of the human psyche. When we find ourselves alone, our subconscious starts to emerge, unveiling emotions, desires, and fears that we often keep hidden. This can be unsettling, even painful. Yet, as Jung recognized, it is only by confronting this discomfort that genuine self-awareness can arise. Thus, solitude is not merely an escape from the world. It is a journey back to oneself. Jung believed that within each person lies a vast, unexplored territory, the unconscious mind, which holds forgotten memories, repressed emotions, and the symbols that influence our lives. Accessing this deeper aspect of ourselves necessitates something uncommon in today's world: stillness. In moments of solitude, the layers of social conditioning start to dissolve, enabling us to recognize the hidden influences that shape our thoughts and actions. For Jung, solitude was not simply the absence of others. It was a vital practice of self-exploration. He frequently emphasized the importance of stepping away from the collective mindset to connect with the deeper aspects of the psyche. The distractions of daily life keep us preoccupied, hindering our access to the unconscious. However, in solitude, the unconscious can emerge, unveiling insights and truths that might otherwise remain concealed. Reflect on the great thinkers of history. Philosophers, artists, scientists, many sought solitude not out of a dislike for others, but because they recognized that creativity and profound understanding arise during moments of uninterrupted contemplation. Jung himself utilized solitude as a means of psychological inquiry, documenting his visions, dreams, and inner experiences in what would later be known as the Red Book, a deeply personal account of his exploration into the unconscious. Nevertheless, the journey of solitude is not always easy. When distractions are removed, we may face aspects of ourselves we prefer to ignore: past wounds, suppressed fears, and hidden insecurities. These all come to light in silence. Yet, as Jung believed, this confrontation is essential. Without it, we remain unfamiliar with ourselves, ensnared in the illusion of the persona, the facade we adopt to conform to societal expectations. One of Jung's most significant insights was the differentiation between the persona and the authentic self. Persona represents the mask we adopt to function within society. It embodies the part of us that seeks validation, conforms to societal expectations, and fulfills the roles assigned to us. Beneath this carefully crafted exterior lies something much more genuine: the true self, the unfiltered core of our being. Jung believed that solitude is essential for revealing this true self. Consider an individual who spends their entire life amidst others, perpetually engaged in social interactions and always performing. Their identity becomes intertwined with external approval. Their sense of self is influenced by how they are perceived by others. They may never ponder, who am I when I am alone? What remains when I remove my roles, responsibilities, and desire for acceptance? These are challenging questions, but Jung contended that without solitude, they often remain unaddressed. Jung himself faced this dilemma in his youth. He was heavily involved in the psychoanalytic movement, guided by Sigmund Freud, and deeply entrenched in academic circles. However, as his thoughts developed, he began to feel increasingly restricted by the expectations surrounding him. Breaking away from Freud and the conventional psychology of the time was not merely an intellectual choice. It was a profoundly personal journey of individuation, a reclaiming of his own truth. To achieve this, he required solitude. He retreated, dedicating time to deep introspection, exploring his unconscious mind, and recording his visions. This time of solitude was not a withdrawal. It was an essential journey toward discovering his true self. However, being alone not only uncovers our true nature, it also highlights who we are not. In moments of solitude, we start to recognize the superficial layers of our identity, the parts of ourselves that exist solely for the sake of others' approval, the businessman who realizes his ambitions were never genuinely his, the artist who recognizes that their creations have been influenced more by trends than by their own vision, and the individual who suddenly realizes that the life they have constructed is not the one they genuinely want. These insights can be disconcerting, even painful, but they also offer freedom, because once we identify the false self, we can initiate the journey back to something authentic. If solitude holds such power, why do many shy away from it? The answer is straightforward. Transformation is often uncomfortable. Jung posited that the process of individuation, becoming one's true self, necessitates confronting the unconscious, which is a challenging journey. In solitude, we confront the aspects of ourselves we have overlooked, denied, or suppressed. We face our fears, regrets, and unfulfilled desires, and yet within this discomfort lies the greatest potential for growth. Consider solitude as an alchemical process. In ancient alchemy, transformation involved breaking down a substance before it could be purified and reborn. The same principle applies to the human psyche. When we distance ourselves from the distractions of the outside world, we enter a phase of psychological disintegration. Our identities, beliefs, and conditioned reactions start to break down. However, this disassembly is essential because it paves the way for something new to emerge. The individual who comes out of solitude is never the same as the one who went in. Jung illustrated this journey through his own experiences at Bingen Tower. In this self-made refuge, he delved into profound introspection, creative endeavors, and symbolic exploration. He etched messages into stone, documented his dreams, and let his unconscious lead the way. This was not simply isolation. It was a purposeful, transformative solitude, a process of shedding the inauthentic and reconnecting with the deepest aspects of the soul. Yet, solitude doesn't necessitate a retreat into nature or a total withdrawal from society. It can start in small ways: moments of morning silence, time spent journaling, or solitary walks free from distractions. The crucial element is intention. When we consciously embrace solitude, It transforms into a powerful catalyst for self-discovery. It enables us to hear the quiet inner voice that is often drowned out by the chaos of the world. So, the question remains, when was the last time you were genuinely alone? Not just in a physical sense, but mentally and emotionally. Not escaping into distractions or filling the silence with noise, but simply being with yourself and allowing whatever comes up to emerge. In that space, beyond the facades, the clamor, and the roles we play, you might discover something remarkable. You might uncover your true self. From the moment of our birth, we are told who we are. Society assigns us a name, a role, and a set of expectations. We are influenced by culture, family, and the unspoken pressures of fitting in. Yet, deep within us lies something that remains untouched by all of this. A self that exists beyond conditioning and the masks we don. Carl Jung referred to this journey toward our authentic self as individuation, which he considered the most significant task of a lifetime. Individuation is not about self-improvement. It's not about becoming a better version of what society expects. It's about realizing who you were meant to be, whole, undivided, and true to your essence. This process involves integrating the unconscious aspects of yourself, the parts that have been overlooked, denied, or suppressed. It is a challenging journey that requires breaking free from societal expectations, standing apart, and embracing solitude, not as a form of isolation, but as a means of self-discovery. Jung believed that many people never reach individuation because they fail to question the identities they have been given. They enact narratives crafted by others, following paths that were never genuinely theirs. They stifle their true desires, fears, and contradictions in a bid to conform to a mold that was never intended for them. However, the price of this conformity is staggering. To reject one's authentic self is to endure a quiet anguish, plagued by a sense of incompleteness that no achievement or validation can remedy. So, how do we initiate the journey of individuation? Jung's response was both simple and profound. We must look inward. We need to pay attention to the hidden aspects of ourselves, the dreams, impulses, and voices we have silenced. We must distance ourselves from the collective and have the courage to walk alone. For it is only in solitude that we can hear the gentle call of our own soul urging us toward wholeness. From a young age, we learn that certain facets of ourselves are acceptable while others must remain concealed. We receive praise for being compliant, adhering to rules, and meeting the expectations imposed on us. Consequently, we adapt. We create a persona, a socially acceptable facade that enables us to navigate the world. Yet beneath this facade lies something else, something raw, untamed, and profoundly real. The journey of individuation involves shedding the mask and embracing what is underneath. This can be daunting, as removing the mask exposes us, not only to the world but also to our own deepest truths. What if the persona we have crafted is vastly different from our true selves? What if we have dedicated years, even decades, to constructing a life that doesn't resonate with our inner being? These are the dilemmas that the process of individuation compels us to confront. Jung cautioned that ignoring our authentic self comes with significant repercussions. When we suppress aspects of ourselves, they don't vanish. Instead, they retreat into our unconscious, where they can fester. This repression leads to inner turmoil, anxiety, and a feeling of disconnection from life. This is why many individuals feel adrift, restless, or unfulfilled, even after achieving everything they were told would bring them happiness. They exist as a fragmented version of themselves, estranged from their true essence. However, the alternative, embracing individuation, requires immense bravery. It involves the willingness to disappoint others, to break free from societal norms, and to confront the unknown within ourselves. It means recognizing that we are not solely the person we present to the world, but also the shadow, the dreamer, and the seeker. Individuation calls for radical honesty. It urges us to examine ourselves completely, without delusions, and to integrate all that we discover. Only then can we achieve wholeness. Why is solitude crucial for individuation? Because the path to our true self cannot be navigated amidst constant distractions. In the presence of others, we are perpetually performing, adjusting, and responding to external influences. In solitude, we gain a unique chance to set aside our performances and truly listen to what is occurring within us. Jung recognized this profoundly. He retreated to Bingen Tower, his private sanctuary, not to flee from the world, but to reconnect with his inner self. In that tranquil space, free from expectations and distractions, he allowed his unconscious thoughts to surface. He documented his dreams, engaged in creative endeavors, and delved into the depths of his psyche. This experience was not about isolation. It was a manifestation of individuation. However, solitude does not imply a permanent disconnection from the world. It is about carving out space for reflection, processing, and integration. It involves stepping away from the collective mindset long enough to hear your own thoughts and truths. Without these solitary moments, we risk being carried away by societal conditioning, losing sight of our true selves amid others' expectations. Yet, for many, solitude can be unsettling. When distractions fade, they confront their unresolved issues, hidden fears, and unmet desires. Jung viewed this discomfort as essential because what surfaces in solitude is not only the darkness we have shunned, but also the light, dreams, creativity, and forgotten aspects of ourselves that are eager to be rediscovered. Individuation is not about achieving perfection. It is about embracing authenticity, and that journey begins in the quiet space of the self. Individuation is not a final destination. It is not a goal that can be achieved and marked off a list. Instead, it is a lifelong journey, a continuous process of self-exploration and integration. There is no ultimate version of the self, only deeper layers to reveal, which is what makes this journey so impactful. For Jung, individuation was about achieving wholeness rather than perfection. It involved embracing all facets of oneself, the light and the shadow, the known and the unknown. It was about learning to live authentically, free from the pressure to conform. However, this is not a one-time epiphany. Life continually presents us with new challenges and experiences that compel us to grow. Each phase of life prompts us to reassess who we are and what we believe. Thus, individuation is an ongoing process of becoming. Yet, many resist this journey because it requires venturing into the unknown. It entails questioning long-held beliefs, shedding outdated identities, and accepting the uncertainty that comes with transformation. Jung reminds us that the alternative, remaining trapped in a false self, is far more painful. Living without individuation means living only half a life, disconnected from one's true purpose. So, consider this: are you living as your authentic self, or are you still donning a mask? Have you taken the time to listen to the deeper aspects of your being? Living without individuation is far more painful than merely existing without connection to one's true purpose. Consider this: are you truly being yourself, or are you still hiding behind a facade? Have you taken the time to connect with the deeper aspects of your being, or are you overwhelmed by outside distractions? The path to individuation is challenging. There exists a part of you that you choose to ignore, a side that you have concealed beneath layers of politeness, societal expectations, and denial. This is the part that experiences anger, jealousy, and insecurity. The part capable of cruelty, selfishness, and destruction. Carl Jung referred to this as the shadow, and he argued that neglecting it poses one of the greatest threats to the human spirit. Yet, here lies the paradox: the more we try to suppress the shadow, the more control it exerts over us. What we refuse to confront does not vanish. It festers in our unconscious, influencing our thoughts, feelings, and actions in ways we fail to comprehend. It can erupt in unexpected fits of anger, manifest in self-sabotaging behaviors, and surface in the judgments we make about others. We often see our own repressed flaws mirrored in the world around us, yet we remain oblivious to the fact that they stem from within. This is why solitude can be so daunting for many. When the distractions of life fade away, we are left alone with our shadow, the unresolved wounds, the hidden fears, and the aspects of ourselves we choose to ignore. They all come to the surface, and in the absence of the distractions of daily life, we are compelled to face them. Jung recognized that confronting the shadow isn't about eliminating it, but rather about integrating it. He posited that genuine self-awareness necessitates acknowledging our darker sides, accepting that we are not simply good or evil, but a complex blend of both. Only by illuminating the unconscious can we reclaim the parts of ourselves that we have lost. This challenging yet essential confrontation with our own darkness begins in solitude. From a young age, we are taught which aspects of ourselves are deemed acceptable and which are not. We learn that emotions like happiness, kindness, and obedience are rewarded, while feelings such as anger, defiance, and vulnerability are punished. Consequently, we adapt by pushing the unacceptable parts of ourselves into the unconscious, pretending they do not exist. However, what we suppress does not disappear. It lingers. The shadow is created in these concealed areas, composed of the traits we deny, the emotions we refuse to experience, and the desires we feel ashamed of. Because we are reluctant to confront these facets of ourselves, they find alternative ways to manifest through projection, destructive behaviors, and recurring patterns we struggle to break. For instance, think of someone who takes pride in being kind and selfless, yet secretly harbors resentment towards others for exploiting their generosity. Repressed anger does not simply vanish. It manifests as passive aggression, bitterness, or silent suffering. Alternatively, a person who considers themselves rational and unemotional may frequently find themselves overtaken by sudden outbursts of rage or anxiety. Their emotions, long denied, can erupt uncontrollably. Jung posited that the more we reject our shadow, the more it dominates us. However, confronting it demands something that few are prepared to undertake: profound and honest self-reflection. This process necessitates solitude. As in solitude, there is no one to blame, and no distractions to hide behind. It is just you and the truths you have been evading. When you finally gaze into the mirror of your own self, you might be taken aback by what you discover. Why is solitude crucial for facing the shadow? Because in the company of others, we are always performing. We uphold our personas, filtering our thoughts and feelings to conform to social norms. Yet, in solitude, the facade drops. There is no audience, no one to impress or deceive. Only the raw, unfiltered truth remains. Jung himself retreated into solitude to engage in this very process. In the Red Book, he chronicled his personal exploration of the unconscious, capturing visions, conversations with archetypal figures, and encounters with his own shadow. He recognized that true self-awareness is not derived from external approval. Rather, it stems from the courage to delve into the depths of one's psyche. Engaging in shadow work, which involves integrating the unconscious, demands a profound commitment to inner exploration. This process entails grappling with challenging questions. What emotions do I suppress, and why? What traits in others provoke a reaction in me, and what do they reveal about my own character? In what ways do I mislead myself to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths? These inquiries are not simple, and the responses can often be unsettling. However, without this introspection, the shadow continues to exert control, influencing our lives from below the surface. Solitude offers the necessary space for this confrontation, compelling us to confront our discomfort, process long-ignored emotions, and reclaim the aspects of ourselves we have neglected. Yet, this journey is not merely about lingering in darkness. It is about comprehending it, learning to acknowledge our shadow without being overwhelmed by it. When we successfully integrate the shadow, something remarkable occurs. We cease to project it onto the world. We become less judgmental, less reactive, and more complete. We unlock the hidden strength and creativity that lie within the unconscious, and most importantly, we start to live with a renewed sense of authenticity. Jung did not view the shadow as entirely negative. Instead, he regarded it as an essential aspect of the self that, when integrated, can become a powerful catalyst for change and growth. Within the shadow reside not only our fears and vulnerabilities, but also our latent potential, the desires we've repressed, the emotions we've overlooked, and the instincts we've denied. These elements are not merely hindrances. They represent unexploited sources of energy, creativity, and depth. Consider the artist who holds back their darker feelings, fearing they are too overwhelming. When they finally confront their shadow, they discover a profound level of expression they never realized existed. Similarly, think of someone who has always prioritized being agreeable, avoiding conflict. By integrating their shadow, they uncover their voice, assertiveness, and ability to establish boundaries. Once accepted, the shadow transforms into a supportive ally. However, this change does not occur without effort. It demands active engagement with the unconscious through practices like journaling, meditation, and deep self-reflection. It calls for solitude, not as a means of escape, but as a sacred space for personal exploration. It also requires the bravery to confront the aspects of ourselves we prefer to keep hidden. The reality is this: you embody not only the light, but also the darkness. You are not solely the persona you show to the world. You are also the raw, untamed self that lies beneath. The bravery to confront the aspects of ourselves that we prefer to keep concealed is essential, for the reality is this: you embody not only the light, but also the darkness. You are more than just the image you show to others. You also possess the wild, unrefined self that lies beneath. The more you reject this truth, the more disjointed you become. But by accepting it, you integrate your shadow and move toward wholeness. So consider this: which parts of yourself have you been avoiding? What truths have you hidden away, fearful of confronting? Are you prepared to embrace solitude, not as a means of escape, but to finally encounter the self that has been waiting for you in the shadows? From the moment we enter this world, we are part of something greater than ourselves. We are born into families, cultures, and belief systems that influence our perception of reality. We learn how to act, what to cherish, and what goals to pursue. And in doing so, we often forget that other possibilities exist. The collective shapes our identity, providing a framework that defines who we are and our role in the world. Yet, deep inside, there exists another force, a soft and relentless call to self yearning to be liberated. This is the timeless conflict, the desire for belonging versus the allure of solitude, the wish to conform versus the urge to discover our true selves. Carl Jung grasped the struggle more profoundly than many. He recognized how society shapes individuals, imposing masks and expectations that can never fully encapsulate the richness of the human spirit. He understood that many people exist as mere fragments of their true selves, conforming to the group at the expense of their own authenticity. The reality is that society does not reward those who venture beyond the established norms. It does not honor those who defy conventions or forge their own paths. Rather, it fears them. Being different invites the risk of rejection. Standing apart brings the threat of loneliness. Consequently, many opt for the safety of conformity instead of the daunting, unpredictable journey of self-exploration. But what is sacrificed in this exchange? What becomes of the parts of ourselves that do not conform to the collective standard? They are buried, suppressed, and denied. The artist stifles their creativity to pursue a conventional career. The dreamer silences their aspirations to satisfy their family's expectations. The thinker restrains their profound inquiries out of fear of misunderstanding. Yet, these repressed elements never truly vanish. They remain beneath the surface, fostering a quiet, persistent discontent. They emerge as anxiety, frustration, and an unshakable sense that something vital has been lost. This is why solitude is not merely a luxury, it is essential. In solitude, we reclaim what has been taken by the collective. Jung posited that genuine individuation, the journey to becoming a complete and authentic self, necessitates a deliberate withdrawal from the collective. This doesn't imply a total rejection of society. It doesn't mean becoming a recluse or shunning human relationships. Rather, it involves stepping away from the clamor long enough to hear your own inner voice. It requires you to scrutinize the beliefs you've inherited and to consider whether they genuinely belong to you. It involves confronting the uncomfortable reality that much of what you perceive as your identity may simply mirror the world around you. This journey is challenging, as distancing yourself from the collective means venturing into the unknown. It entails navigating a path devoid of guarantees, validation, or the comfort of belonging. It can lead to a sense of being an outsider, even if just temporarily, and few are prepared to take that leap. However, those who do embrace solitude as a means of self-exploration uncover something priceless, the self that has been obscured by years of conditioning. They discover clarity, depth, and a sense of purpose that cannot be imposed by others. They learn to interact with the world not as passive observers, but as individuals who have charted their own course. When they return to the community, they do so not as followers, but as those who possess something valuable to contribute: wisdom, insight, and the strength that comes from understanding their true selves. The paradox lies in this: only by stepping away from the collective can we learn to exist within it without losing our identity. Embracing solitude allows us to engage with the world from a place of authenticity rather than mere conformity. Thus, the question persists: are you living a life that is genuinely yours, or are you merely following a path laid out for you? Have you taken the time to hear the voice beneath the clamor, or have you silenced it with the expectations of others? The conflict between society and the self is unavoidable. It is a struggle that unfolds within each of us, influencing the trajectory of our lives in ways we seldom recognize. The choice remains: conformity or authenticity, belonging or truth. Which path will you take? There comes a moment in solitude when a shift occurs. Initially, there is resistance, the discomfort of silence, the burden of your own thoughts weighing heavily on you. The mind seeks out distractions, yearning for the clamor of the outside world and the comforting cadence of daily habits. However, if you can remain still for a while, allowing yourself to embrace the vastness of solitude without fleeing from it, something extraordinary occurs. The initial discomfort begins to dissipate, making way for a new awareness to arise. You start to perceive yourself with a clarity that once seemed unattainable. The layers of conditioning, societal expectations, and the opinions of others begin to fade away. Beneath these layers, a more authentic and profound self begins to emerge. Carl Jung viewed solitude not merely as an escape from the world, but as a transformative crucible. He regarded it as a space where the soul experiences a form of alchemy, where raw, unrefined aspects of the self are melted and reshaped into something new. In solitude, the unconscious mind communicates in ways it cannot in the company of others. Dreams become more vivid, forgotten memories resurface, and buried emotions demand acknowledgement. If you pay attention and fully surrender to this process, you will come to realize that solitude is not devoid of meaning. Rather, it is rich with insights waiting to be discovered, and truths longing to be acknowledged. It is within solitude that the most profound work of the soul occurs. This transformation cannot be forced. It cannot be hurried, nor can you dictate what will. You may enter solitude with the hope of finding peace, only to encounter deep-seated pain. You might seek clarity, yet find yourself engulfed in confusion. This is the essence of genuine inner work. It does not adhere to a linear trajectory. Much like the alchemists who aim to turn lead into gold, the journey is unpredictable, demanding patience, surrender, and a readiness to confront whatever emerges. Over time, transformation begins to take place. The aspects of yourself that once felt disjointed start to come together. The wounds you believed would never heal begin to mend. The emotions you dreaded start to lose their grip on you, making way for a quiet strength to take root. Jung frequently discussed individuation, the path to becoming your authentic self, as a process of inner unity, and solitude is where this journey unfolds. In the silence, you learn to recognize both your light and your darkness. You start to accept the contradictions within you, realizing they are not flaws, but vital components of your identity. You discover that the parts of yourself you once shunned, the fears, desires, and doubts, are not hindrances but guides. They illuminate the path to wholeness, and as you integrate them, you emerge from solitude not as someone who has fled the world, but as someone who has been reborn within it. The change that takes place in solitude is not intended to keep you apart from others. Rather, it is designed to equip you for the world in a fresh manner. Once you confront yourself and truly recognize what lies beneath the surface, you become immune to external influences. You are no longer constrained by others' opinions or swayed by societal pressures. You navigate life with newfound clarity, grounded in something more profound than temporary validation or approval. You cease to search for meaning outside yourself because you have discovered it within. This is the essence of solitude. It is not about loneliness or being in exile. It is a journey back to your true self, to your core, to the truth that has always been there, waiting to be revealed. Therefore, the real question is not whether you can endure solitude, but whether you are ready to embrace it, to allow it to open you up, to let it remove the illusions, and to show you who you genuinely are. Solitude is not a place of losing oneself. It is where you finally encounter your true self. It is not isolation, it is transformation. It is the realm where the self is rediscovered, where the facades fall away, and where the soul returns to its completeness. Carl Jung profoundly understood this. He understood that, without moments of solitude, we remain ensnared by the world's expectations, never truly discovering who we are beneath the surface. However, for those willing to embrace the silence and confront the unknown within themselves, solitude transforms into the most profound teacher. It is in this space that you face your fears, integrate your shadow, and emerge not as a fragmented self, but as a whole, authentic being. If this video struck a chord with you, please remember to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. It really supports us. Solitude becomes the most powerful teacher. It is where you confront your fears, integrate your shadow, and emerge not as a fragmented version of yourself, but as something complete, something real. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. It helps us continue creating content that challenges the way we think and see the world. We post new videos every day, exploring the depths of philosophy, psychology, and self-discovery. If you're looking to dive even deeper, check out the link in the description and the pinned comment. There, you'll find a selection of powerful books that can guide you on your journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and most importantly, keep becoming.